Ready? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please take a seat if you're so inclined. But in any event, please stop talking. I can hear it. Can you hear? Can you hear?
No.
Would you please?
No, you can't. Nothing. I don't think anything here, bro.
No.
Hello?
When you push it on and you blow it.
I hear it. Just I hear the tap. That's not loud.
I don't. Look.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call the meeting to order. I've never used my gavel before.
This is the time.
Give it a try. See how it feels.
No mics. How are we gonna have that big?
Yes.
I know.
Hello.
Hello. No. They're not. We better just wait till the things. No.
Say the Pledge of Allegiance. That'll get us.
No, we got to get the mics working for the meeting. That's
The
more
mics aren't
important.
working. Hello, can you hear me?
No, they can't.
No, it's not on.
I can't hear it. No, I tried it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Murphy's Law.
Good evening.
Right. It says you can hear it on the TV.
No, we can't. We can't hear it in there.
Oh, it's on TV?
Come on, let's do like they do in school.
Sign
Tut,
up.
tut, 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 tut. All of us educators know the clap.
There you go.
The clap,
Oh, it's on TV.
not the clap.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to call the meeting to order. The microphones aren't working out there for some reason, so if you could just take a seat, and if nothing else, just stop talking. Thank you. I appreciate that. Madam Clerk, let me do the opening of the meeting. Hopefully we'll get the microphones on in a minute. This is a regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Montclair. Notice of this meeting has been provided to the Montclair Times, the Herald News, and the Star Ledger. Notice has also been posted on the bulletin board in the Municipal building. Roll call, please.
Mayor Jackson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor McMahon. Here. Councilor Baskerville,
Present.
Councilor Hurlock.
Present.
Councilor McMahon,
Also here.
Councilor Russo,
You did it twice.
I'm on,
Present. Russo present.
and Councilor Schlager. That's
Present. Pledge of Allegiance.
Count.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to ask that we have a moment of silence for Judge William Walls, who recently passed away, one of the pioneers in our judicial system, and particularly, I think, appropriate tonight as we swear in Mr. Angelo to be our judge, but I think we should observe a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you. Okay, public comment. We'll be happy to hear from members of the public on whatever subject you might have in mind. I don't know, Council, do you want to do public comment after let's do public comment after. Just do quickly, though, we do have the minutes of June 25th, and July 9th. I'll move those.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our first order of business then is a proclamation honoring Pat Brechka for 37 years of service to the township. Councilor McMahon. Excuse me, Deputy Mayor McMahon. It's going to take a minute.
Can we all go?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Roll call. Robin. 37 years.
I'll start it off. proclamation in recognition and appreciation of Pat Brechka. Whereas Pat Brechka, Director of the Montclair Recreation and Cultural Affairs Department, is retiring on August 1st, 2019. Thank you, Rick. After having served the... Can you hear? Does it make any difference? I don't think so. After having served the township for 37 years, as director, a position she held for 15 years, Ms. Brechka oversaw the day-to-day operations of the department, which provides year-round recreational, athletic, and cultural programs for all ages and abilities, serving the interests and welfare of all Montclair's residents through programs that encourage a healthy and active lifestyle, provide opportunities for learning and enrichment, and help foster a sense of community and...
Whereas, a graduate of Kane University with a degree in recreation and later acquiring a physical education teaching certificate, Ms. Brechka joined what was then the Parks, Recreation, and Shade Tree Department in 1982 in the position of Activities Director under Director Perry Dewar. Pat brought her enthusiasm, organizational skills, and energy to her job, creating, planning, and supervising numerous young adult and youth and senior programs. She coordinated everything from ski instruction programs held on Thursday evenings and Saturdays to weekly lunchtime gatherings for the senior women of the L Club, and held at the Red Cross a running summer camp for members. And whereas,
Start here. Yeah. I don't think that works. Pat was promoted during Director Lonnie Brandon's tenure to Superintendent of Recreation, adding to her significant responsibilities, which are numerous. Pat organized Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and 9/11 commemorations. A longtime member of the New Jersey Recreation and Parks Association, she also served for 37 years as one of the co-directors of the Township and YMCA-sponsored Montclair Recreation Run, coordinating every aspect to ensure a safe and successful event. Upon Mr. Brandon's retirement, Ms. Brechka was promoted to Director of the reorganized Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs. And
I forgot my glasses.
Thank you. Whereas, in addition to her administrative and athletic abilities, Pat brought to her job a gift for friendship and networking, enabling her to persuade her friends and co-workers, despite some initial resistance, to volunteer for the many extracurricular activities run by the Recreation Department, including convincing them to act as chaperones for ski trips to Lake Placid and Quebec, to work as elves at the annual tree lighting and visit from Santa, and to hand out program at the Veterans Day ceremony, and to corral excitedly for the children and meeting Mr. Bunny. And whereas
Whereas Ms. Brechka was a reliable and responsive colleague, always willing to step in and offer whatever assistance was required to get the job done. I had cataracts from the back of the Pat worked to promote a sense of esprit de corps among township employees, volunteering her time and skills to lead free after-work aerobics classes for employees, holding fundraisers such as the fall turkey raffle, beefsteak dinners, planning the employee Christmas party, which involved everything from scheduling lunchtime gatherings during which handmade decorations were created to enhance the in-house party space, to picking up the sandwiches and cake. And whereas Pat has earned the respect and genuine affection not only of everyone who worked with her, including the many council members, fellow employees, committee members she liaisons with, but also the members of the community she served. She organized numerous first night celebrations, 4th of July parades, fireworks displays, coordinating the efforts of countless staff and volunteers. She was also the integral member of the committee which designed the Montclair 150th anniversary celebration just this last year, up in December 2018. So be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Township of Montclair and the County of Essex commend and congratulate Pat Brechka and wish her well in her future pursuits, which includes spending more time with family, friends, traveling, skiing, attending concerts, reading and cooking. I would add she's Anna Shore a lot too. Pat added immeasurably valuably to the life of the community, both as a municipal employee and a longtime resident. Her professionalism, institutional knowledge, humor, and kindness will be missed. Attested this July 23rd, 2019 by the clerk, Julie Lee, signed by Mayor Robert Jackson, and all our council members will present this to you and congratulate you and
I know there's other things on the agenda, but I have to say it's been a long and amazing journey, and it really went fast. 37 years went fast. I've been lucky enough to, as it said in the resolution, that I majored in recreation, and to get a job in the field, it was wonderful. I enjoyed every moment of it. I never hated coming to work. I loved my job, and I loved all the events we did. I have to say, they did talk about the volunteers. The people in this community have been so great, and I guess some of them are going to be relieved that I'm not going to be calling on them anymore because I'm going to beg everybody, 4th of July, first night when we had it, all these different events, including some of the council people here, and I'm very grateful that you've all been part of this. It's been amazing. I do have to say, what most gratifying is it's seeing the kids that have grown through the 37 years that have been in my programs. They were in my programs, and then they would come back, work for us as a camp counselor, lifeguard, or people like Pierre, who's in the police department, who started when he was a young kid with us, and now he helps us with all different programs, even wrestling. There's so many people like that that have come back, and they still help us out, and it's nice to see that. It's also nice to see some of these people that have been part of camp come back with their kids and thank us as a department what we did for them, and they want their kids to experience it. That is very gratifying. Montclair, I didn't grow up here, even though it feels like I have. Sometimes I forget where I grew up, but I feel like this is more of a home to me, and it will always have a special place in my heart, and I'll never forget all the great friendships I've made, and I know I'll continue, and I will be around to help out with my staff if they've been with me for a long time, over 20 years, 25 years, and I'm there for them to back them up and help them out. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, congratulations once again, Pat. We're now going to have the swearing in of Joseph C. Angelo, Esquire, as the judge of the Montclair Municipal Court.
Woohoo!
Madam Clerk.
Oh,
You bring your
yeah,
family
that's
up, Joe.
good. Woo. Oh, man. All right, these things I sort of cry at. Happy tears.
Yeah, bring the whole family up, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, that feels much better. I'm actually
My children, by the way, Gabrielle, Sabrina, and Alexandra, my mother Rose,
nice.
my wife Diana, and my brother and sister, my name.
Wow, beautiful family.
the back side.
All right.
Oh, this is so nice.
I, Joseph C. Angelo,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and
to
allegiance
the same
to the same
and to the governments established
and to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of a municipal court judge
of the municipal court judge
for the county of Montclair,
for Montclair
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
So I have to be very brief. My nephew's wife was due 2 days ago, and she came. Well, wait over there. So I'm going to be really quick. Mind if I say something very quickly?
Take your time, sir.
I had 2 versions. This is the short one. I'm starting to think it's normal to do this every week, by the way. I realize we have a council meeting, so I'm going to be very brief. I would like to thank Mayor Jackson and each one of you on the council for this incredible honor. I'm so humbled that you chose me for such an important position. As I have in the past, I intend to carry out my duties with respect for the law, others, and those who come before me. Few jobs come with such tremendous responsibility. I will never take that lightly. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone I worked with in the past 13 years. Pat was how many years?
37.
All right, I'm only 13. But in that 13 years, I have tremendous coworkers, attorneys, judges. I could spend hours identifying each of you. There's a whole group back there, the police. Thank you for everything. Thank you. Chief Conforti, the police department. Lastly, I would like to thank the people of this township. I don't know if it's normal for the prosecutor to be stopped on the street and greeted with such enthusiasm and warmth from residents. Whether I'm standing in the store or walking on the street, people look at me and they say, "Aren't you that guy from the court?" Fearing the worst, after all, I did prosecute these people. I sheepishly admit, yes. And yet again and again, I'm treated to kind words or a positive story of when they came to court. I loved it. Having worked here for almost 13 years, I can tell you the absolute best thing about Montclair are the people. It's so fitting that you put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
It has been one of the greatest honors of my life to work here. Thank you.
Excuse the look.
Congratulations, Judge.
We just want to acknowledge one person here, and I hope we don't overlook anyone, but the judge for the township of Nutley, Judge Joanne Cacciola, is here, and she spoke at one of my classes in political science. But Judge Cacciola, we want to recognize in the back, was also the first woman mayor of the town of Nutley a few years ago. So Joanne, thank you for coming. And our own Assemblyman Tom Giblin is here. Tom is here. I'm sure you're going to say a few words, Tom, at some point, right? But Tom Giblin, thanks for coming. Assemblyman Tom Giblin.
Council members, anything to say to Mr. Angelo and his family?
Well, I'd like to just say thank you for being such a good prosecutor. Several of my students told me that when they were stopped on the road, they mentioned they were going to Professor Russo's class. I said, don't use that. Don't go to the town judge and talk about that. But I think that you're very fair, because some of them came back to me and said, what a wonderful prosecutor. I hope you're tougher as a judge, but I think you've done a very good job as assistant town attorney. I think a lot of people don't realize you were the assistant town attorney, which I thought maybe you'd become a town attorney at some point, but you're going to be our judge, and you did a great job as assistant town attorney, as prosecutor, and I've seen this for many, many years. I've served on the council, but we wish you the best of luck and continue doing a fair job. Justice needs to be served. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Judge, I will also add, for me, it's experiences we've shared and conversations that we've had and actions that I've seen in your multiple roles that have really impressed me the most. It's always been through a lens of trying to help people. When I've come and shared concerns of residents and challenges that they've been in, you've always tried to work through that. You've always been fair. And for me, what I'm most excited about is, and through your interview process and just seeing how you operate, is that component of balancing the demands of the law, making sure we've got a safe township here, and certainly we respect the needs of those in it, but doing it with compassion and making sure that you give people an opportunity to do right. And I think all of those things put together are what make you and will make you an excellent judge. I look forward to your tenure in service, and I know you will serve our township well, and I thank you and welcome.
Judge, I'd just like to say that for the past, I guess ever since you first came in, I was here when you came in, so 11 years, it's really been an honor working closely with you. And when we were discussing the type of individual that we wanted to have to represent us in the judge position in Montclair, that was a very easy decision for me to nominate you, because you are a man of honor and integrity and all of those great things that I believe all of us strive for in this community. And as you walk the walk, the reason people stop you is because you exemplify those things in your daily walk. And I think it's our honor to have you here, and thank you so much for accepting that. And I know great things are going to happen here with you. Thank you.
Joe, I note in the time I've known you, you've got appropriately gray. You've grown into the position, and I echo all the wonderful things people say. But I want to say, as a lawyer, there's no one like you. I really appreciate that your door was always open. We discussed many things over the years. I appreciate your advice. It was always well considered, and I know you could be a great judge.
Joe, I want to wish you best wishes and lots of luck. And I know you to be a very kind and patient man, and I think that will serve you well as being our judge. Patience is a virtue that is very important, I believe, in your role. But I also hope we don't work you too hard so you get back home to those 3 beautiful daughters that are here today. And I hope you're very proud of your dad, as you should be. And we're happy to have him. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I also echo my colleague's sentiments, Joe. As you know, I consider you a friend. We've known each other now for a good number of years. As a fellow member of the bar, I have a great deal of respect for you. As assistant township attorney, prosecutor, and now judge, I know you're going to do a fantastic job. You have the temperament for this position. I am thrilled to have supported you when we had those conversations, those many months ago, as they say. And I wish you nothing but success and Godspeed in this position.
There come times when you have votes that you're really happy about and proud of, and this is one of those occasions. Joe is one of the finest, I should say, the judge is one of the finest gentlemen that I've encountered in dealing in the world of public service. His word is his word. He works hard, he's fair, all the things that one would look for I think, a judge for this township, and obviously Belleville felt the same way, Judge. There's a reason why there's an overflow crowd here for you today, as I read about also in Belleville, because I think people respect you so much, they admire you so much, and are so happy for you and your family. This is a great occasion for you. You've earned it. This is nothing that was given to you. There was tough competition for this position. And your selection, I think all of us are just really, really proud of you and proud of that vote, and looking forward to support you in any way we can on the court, Judge. This is a great moment for you, great moment for us. We're honored to have you here. God bless you. Looking forward to working with you. And if I just may, I just want to take a moment to honor and to recognize our Montclair Police Department and our Montclair Fire Department, who are represented in the back. Back there. Thank you all. We're now going to move to public comment. And Joe, it's okay for you and your family to leave. We won't think worse of you. We understand.
We'll see you at the restaurant. We'll see you at Fushino's.
We're going to open up to public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council on any matter, we'll be happy to hear from you. Actually, while everybody's leaving, we'll take a 1-minute break while everybody's milling out. Thank you.
Oh, how wonderful.
check. Yeah. So what happened was, it took over 3 months just to get the guy there after we dug up the thing, and we're still waiting for the guy to come to get the roots. And they took down 3 trees and not the roots, what they were supposed to do. And he went to the wrong place. And
Other
I
than
called
that-
the office. No, but I'm just saying, it's just ridiculous. You know, I would just say that has to be straightened out, you know.
Mr. Wish, could you get with Mr. Stafford or Mr. Scantlebury and
I have the
them
pictures, so I can show them the pictures.
and
So the whole thing is,
they'll
what they
work.
say, but you know, it's kind of ridiculous that it took this long to come down and we getting fined and everything else like that. That was their responsibility, and they did the wrong thing.
I would say that's a matter for these gentlemen to take care of, and then the other issue will be with the court.
Okay,
And
whatever.
Mr. Angelo's probably still in the lot if you want to go.
Hope he ain't cutting down trees.
Wow, Rich. Well, I didn't know you had it in you. Wow.
Still no microphone.
Just singing.
Jeez. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
My name's Michael Grayley, 15 Forest Street, and I know it's probably not the most important thing to deal with, but I want to talk about the traffic situation around the corner from my house on Glenridge Avenue, specifically the valet parking. Before I start complaining about it, let me just say that I'm a big fan of the valet parking. It cuts down on a lot of the traffic in the neighborhood and a lot of the illegal parking. However, the way it's implemented, there's 2 major safety problems. Number one, if you look, heading toward the weekend on the traffic that's going, northeast on Glenridge, you'll see every single car crossing the double yellow line to get around the stanchions that are set up for the valet parking. And secondly, I know they rent 2 of the parking places that are in front of the establishment, but they actually don't use them for the valet parking, and the valet parking starts further up. They have cars parked there more or less permanently. The valet parking is up a little bit north of there, and in fact, often there's a car parked right near the corner, right onto or over the pedestrian walkway. This creates a safety problem for the cars that are turning left onto Glenridge Avenue from Forest Street because they can't see the oncoming traffic, and the oncoming traffic is in the wrong lane. So I wish, I've called up the police department, and they said that they would send somebody. I talked to the valet service. They said that they know that it's unsafe, that they moved them, but their boss told them, or their employer told them that they can't do that. So anyway, thank you for your attention. I hope that this can get dealt with because it really is not a safe situation over there. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for coming forward with that. I certainly won't speak on behalf of, but I know that Councilwoman Baskerville and Councilwoman Schlager and I on the subcommittee have been looking at this, and Councilwoman Baskerville had pushed forward, and we are working on guidance around valet parking. Surprisingly, you might be surprised to hear, I know we were somewhat, that there are no rules governing this in ordinances or otherwise. So with that situation, you get the dynamic where maybe these are the spots, maybe they move up, what are the consequences, not much that's attached to it. So we are working on that now to put some parameters around it that we can ensure that people do it safely, do it responsibly, do it with the guidance of the municipality, and also then, and therefore we're allowed to impose some kind of penalty if there's some violation. So we're missing a lot of those pieces now, but literally it was at our last subcommittee meeting, literally where we're talking about this issue, and thank you to Mr. Karasik and others. They're already working on the framework of what that looks like and looking at best practices for other places. So we're currently working on that, and I would imagine we'll bring it to our colleagues on this board shortly.
Is this thing on now? I like that shirt. Union strong, okay? Okay. Okay.
Good evening, William Scott, 23
Good
Cedar
evening.
Avenue.
I don't think it's working, the mic, so if you can just project, yeah.
Okay. William Scott, 23 Cedar Avenue. I'm the co-chair of the Montclair Housing Commission, and I'm also the chair of the NAACP Housing Committee. I just wanted to restate a comment that I made on the July 7th conference meeting, and it was in regards to, well, one of the comments, I'll start with the Haynes redevelopment project that was voted on. There was a 20% set-aside ordinance for the Township of Montclair that was not applied to that development, and there were several council members that did not support the adopted commitment for a 20% set-aside last year for all new redevelopment. I just wanted to state the fact that Council Member Herlock voted not to support his commitment to 20% set aside for affordable housing. Councilman McMahon, Councilman Russo, Councilwoman Slager, and also Council Deputy Mayor at the time, Spiller, all reversed their position on the commitment for affordable housing at the 20% set aside for new development. Mayor Jackson abstained, and Councilwoman Baswell was a no vote according to the public record. So I just wanted to correct the record because I did make that statement at the conference meeting, but I did leave out one of the council members in my statement, and that was Mr. Russo. Okay.
Mr. Scott, just to correct the record, I voted no.
According to the record, town record,
I
it
voted
says
no.
abstain. Okay.
I voted no on the redevelopment.
Okay. Well, maybe we need to correct the record at that point. Okay. And also at that meeting, there was no explanation from any of the members that voted against that commitment at that meeting. So I just wanted to make sure that this is on the record and we're fully aware of what did occur. Moving on to, and you have an opportunity to comment at this point if you like. I don't want to take over the meeting, but I guess you have an opportunity to let the public know why you did not support your commitment that you made over a year ago.
I'd just like to say, you're talking about the resolution or the ordinance on that specific development.
That's correct.
Okay. So I may have voted the wrong way in your opinion or other people's opinions on that particular, but my overall commitment in life and on the council is that we should have 20% affordable housing. Okay, that's just something I believe. But on that particular development, I didn't vote that way. So I apologize if I didn't vote the way you want me to, Mr. Scott, but that's that particular development which I thought maybe was important to have a little more flexibility. 10% is better than nothing. 20% is what I want. And in the future, I'm probably going to try to push for 20% as much as I can. That's all I can say.
Okay. And, you know, I'm not here to go back and forth, but obviously when you have an opportunity to vote your position, a yes vote would have obviously identified your commitment to 20% set aside for affordable housing. That's my point.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, also at the conference meeting, I also commented on the June 25th resolution that was pulled that would have supported Councilwoman Basville as deputy mayor for the Township of Montclair. As I mentioned, it was a very interesting meeting. Is an understatement. The fact that her name was on a resolution, that resolution was pulled. There was executive meetings, executive sessions. To make a long story short, the process was changed right before our eyes at that particular meeting. And Councilwoman Basville, being a staunch supporter and representative of the 4th Ward, in her 3rd term, to have experienced that unnecessary treatment was unacceptable. There were other members of the community that did come up and speak. There might be some tonight, but I wanted to make sure, since we only had a chance to speak on this matter at a conference meeting, we wanted to make sure that from a public record and being viewed on Channel 34, that everyone is fully aware of what did take place, and I'm hoping other members of the community will also express their concern and outrage of what occurred at that particular meeting in regards to that change of her being appointed as deputy mayor. Okay. My third item, according to the agenda, there's going to be an affordable housing affirmative marketing plan change for the affordable housing ordinance that will support affordable housing for all Montclair residents and as well as Montclair employees, which is absolutely moving in the right direction. As I mentioned, being a member of the Housing Commission, since this is the first opportunity I've had to see the resolution or ordinance, whatever the case might be, we'll be able to view that a little bit more in depth from a Housing Commission standpoint. That information was not shared with the Housing Commission, but we will take whatever necessary steps to follow up to find out what details are within the new affirmative marketing ordinance. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Selma of the Civic, 208 North Mountain Avenue. I came here tonight to address 3 issues that, in my opinion, I find troubling. We have all known each other for a very, very long time. And I usually send my opinions and my thoughts to you via email. Tonight, I decided to do it in public because I am angry and upset at some of the events that have occurred in our town lately. I'm not going to address the Lackawanna development or anything else happening around the development in general, because that is the platform on which you as a council ran, and you are, by that standard, fulfilling your duties. You have actually started to develop this little village into a town which will have many opportunities and options for people who commute into the city. You are building apartments, you are building around our hubs, and that is what you ran on, and that is what you're doing. The side effect of that, the traffic that we are all experiencing, is a side effect of that, which I know you're all aware of and will deal with. Post haste, I certainly hope. The issue that really, really upset me, besides the parking and traffic, I wanted to speak tonight regarding the resolution on the plastic bags. I'm in full support of banning the usage of plastic bags. However, based on my reading of the resolution, I find it extremely unfair to the existing small business owners in this town. I'm not talking about supermarket chains, I'm not talking about big businesses, I'm talking about small business owners. If you do not grandfather in their existing stock, their existing inventory of bags that they have in stock that they have to get rid of, you have to find a way to compensate them for this loss. You have to either compensate them for this inventory of bags that they have to dispose of, or let them use them up before they reorder. Because these small businesses, I owned 3 businesses in this town, 2 of them were retail. Every cent counts. Every cent counts. A very good friend of mine has relocated his business from Upper Montclair to Verona recently. I saw him for the 4th of July parade, and what he said to me, he said, I worked so hard in Upper Montclair to stay in business and keep a roof over my head. I just moved over the border into Verona, and my rent is 10% of what I paid in Montclair. And I don't have that many business ordinances, and I can not only keep a roof over my head, we are prospering. So please do not put yet another hardship on our small business owners, especially the retail owners. Thank you for that. Second item, I would like to speak from my perspective as a resident and a taxpayer of this town. We have not received enough explanation of why Dr. Baskerville is not our assistant mayor. In my opinion, there's 2 reasons why that resolution was not voted on. She was either found to be unfit to serve, or she chose to step down. I don't see a third explanation for this. Either way, we as taxpayers and residents deserve to know why this happened. And the third thing that I wish to speak about, which is extremely uncomfortable for me, it is the Board of Education and the current situation that we have in our education system. And Robert, I am really, really sorry to have to say this. This falls all in your lap, because every single person that is currently serving on a Board of Education was posted there by you. We had a female superintendent, African American, highly educated, highly qualified position that she was holding, leave town, quit, because she didn't feel that she had support for the job that she was hired to do, to bring equity into our education system. She didn't feel she had support on the Board of Education to fulfill her mission. That is the Board of Education that you put in place. It is horrific to me as a taxpayer, as a parent, to have to say this. There are no parents of children that are currently attending Montclair Public Schools on that board. There's one, Dr. Davis, and his daughter is what, a senior in high school? We have 10 other buildings. None of those parents are represented on the current Board of Education. Not to mention the fact that many of the members of the current Board of Education have actually sent their children to private schools. They thought that our schools were not good enough for their children. They sent them to private schools, and now they're serving on our Board of Education, telling us how our children have to be educated. That is not okay. That is not okay, Robert. You have to put our children first. When it comes to that Board of Education and our educational system, all of the children of Montclair deserve a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? I'll close the public comment period. We have some pending ordinances. Madam Clerk? Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard in relation to the proposed ordinance?
Good evening. I'm Lyle Landon. I'm co-chair of the Montclair Environmental Commission, and for those who are not here at the first reading, I just wanted to do a little bit of review, which is that the plastic bag ban calls for replacement of bags with either a paper bag, and I have a show and tell here. So here is a bag. It is from ShopRite, and it says that it's been used, it uses recycled paper. That's the most important thing. And then here we have a bag from Stop and Shop. And it is a plastic bag. However, it is also made of recycled content. So, this is what we want to have happen, is that the plastic bags that are the single-use bags, that they are banned completely. And we were talking last time about certain requirements on them, but in light of some new evidence, which is that Hoboken, for instance, had a ordinance that was very much like ours. As a matter of fact, ours was modeled on it. They have now gone back and made their ordinance more strict. And they've also added a ban on styrofoam with it. So we just want to make sure that our ordinance stays strong and that it has a bag that is 2.25 mils and can carry up to 22 pounds. So it needs to be something that will really be reused. Because if it's smaller than that or flimsier than that, it ends up in the waste stream and it's really for naught. It's supposed to be able to be reused 125 times. So the second point is that I've heard the information about smaller retailers, and we sympathize with them. And Suzanne, my colleague, is actually going to tell something that I think will reinforce her position and agree with it. Also, some of the questions raised by Umber were about the town council meeting, and I told you that I would come forward with some information on that. In Hoboken, that their town council group, which will be the one that supervises this, consists of 3 people plus the mayor or a mayor designate, so it's up to 5 people. In Jersey City, it's just 1 person, it's the sustainability officer. That's it, so that's who the council is. They have no appeal process. If there is a fee involved, then that really goes through the court system, so there is no additional appeal on that. I do know that some of the larger retailers have asked to have a meeting with you, and we ask that we be present on that. I can tell you that there was similar requests in Parsippany, and they did meet with the retailers, and basically they want to wait for a state program. We have encouraged everyone very much not to wait for a state program, and the main reason is if you put the ban here now, then our retailers get to collect all the money. All the fee goes to them. If it goes to a state program, the state will take a part of it. And there was actually just introduced this week legislation on the federal level, and all the money will go to a federal fund. So we want to help our retailers. We don't want to make this to be a burden on them. So the best thing we can do for the retailers is pass a municipal ban so that they can recoup money. And as people learn to use disposable bags, that expense will go away completely. So that's why we keep emphasizing that there is a financial advantage to do it at the municipal level. The last thing, one of our colleagues could not be here today is because he's a teacher, and of course he's away on vacation, but he said that our kids are ready for this. The next generation does not want to go to Harvard Business School and learn to be a polluter or a distributor that distributes anything that doesn't have a recycling program already in place. So I think our kids are ready for this. The people of Montclair are ready for this. When I spoke with some of the large retail owners here, they said they are practicing it personally, that they don't have a problem. As a matter of fact, Acme just has a new checkout lane on your own, and there's a button where you hit brought own bag. So they know it's coming. They know it's here. It's going to be happening. And those are the main points that I wanted to reiterate, that we think that this is the best program for Montclair, and that the programs that are coming down the road will not put as much money back in the retailer's pocketbook, and we will have to wait to make the planet safer. Thank you.
Good evening. So I just wanted to add to what Lyle said, that the Environmental Commission understands that local businesses may have already bought inventories, and then that could be a burden to them. We understand that. And so the ordinance does have a clause that allows any inventory purchased before the first reading to be allowed to be used with customers until that inventory is used. And I also know anecdotally, speaking with some businesses, that even with leftover inventory, some stores are still going to encourage reusable bags or other options, which is great. I also know that we are ready as a town, and for the most part are yearning for this change. Environmental laws and changes, unfortunately, are not always easy to build political will and support for. As much as we're always surprised by that, we all know that to be true. And this one should be an easy lift, given that residents and even businesses are asking for it and are already making these changes in many cases. And this is just a wonderful opportunity for our town to be at the forefront of these important changes that are going to come down the road around single-use plastic, instead of looking back and regretting that we didn't when it was most needed. So thank you so much for your consideration. Appreciate it.
Excuse me, can you state your name? I didn't get your name.
Oh, Suzanne Atman. I'm on the Montclair Environmental Commission.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elias Lewin. I am 12 and a middle school student in Montclair. I made a short video and sent it to you called I Spy a Plastic Bag in Montclair. Thank you for watching it. It tells the story of plastic bags around Montclair and the unfortunate trip they take to the Passaic River. I learned a lot while making it, and I think I represent all Montclair kids who walk or bike or drive around every day and see a bag blowing through the air or getting stuck in a storm drain or in a tree. It just doesn't look right and is very frustrating to see. But what makes it worse is that these bags can end up down the storm drain, into the storm pipes, and into our streams. Or even blow into our streams because of the wind. From there, they make their way to the second and third river, and then to the Passaic River. They are so light that they can travel far and fast. That river leads out to the Atlantic Ocean. So, these things we do here in Montclair affect other parts of New Jersey, and especially our waterways and oceans, and the wildlife that live there. We don't want to be responsible for that. We can and need to be better. Thank you for considering this ban on plastic bags.
That was a very good video. Thank you. That video was great.
My name is Pete Von Hoffman. My wife and I own Engelbeck's in Upper Montclair. And you might think I'm coming up here to argue against the law, and I'm not doing that. It's really not a question of if. It's a question of when and how. And number one is that we order sometimes 6 months in advance to get ready for the holidays. Those orders have already been put in. And the holiday season may be good, may be bad. We may get everything, use every single bag during the holidays. We may not. So the question is, how do we get through that to get to what you're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to accomplish as a town? The second question is about how we do it, and does it have to be punitive? If we think about this all the time in our store, every penny does matter. Believe it or not, we give 6 packs to people, and the bag costs more than what our profit could be on that if we just sold a 6-pack. So we know that the cost of a bag, if we can bring that down, that would be very helpful. So maybe 5, 8, 9 months ago, we actually started asking our customers, more because of the cost of it, not because of the ecological side of it, but it turned out to be that. We asked them, we said, do you need a bag? One simple question. Do you need a bag? Over a third of our customers say, you know something, I don't need a bag. All right, and they're doing it because they hear people like the 2 people who just spoke here before me. They understand. You take the bag, it's going to go somewhere, it's going to become a problem. All right, but there are other people who come in. They want a bag. Our store in particular, they do not want to walk out holding whatever they're holding and walking down the street. They would like to have a bag. And we respect that because that's something that they want to do. Okay? So the question from our point of view is, it's not about if. We have to deal with this stuff. The really question is not about when, other than we know there's a time frame, but it's how do we do it so that it works both for the businesses and for the community. And I think as a business, our business is one of those ones. We've never opted to go the box route, the big store, all that stuff. We always said, stay small, stay community, be part of the community, and do those things that would help with that. And we're willing to go along with virtually anything that's going to be good for the community, good for society, good for any of that. We just want to at least have a say, how do we get there? So it doesn't cost us in the process. And somebody spoke earlier, but small business in this town, you may realize it because you've had them, but a lot of people don't realize how strapped a small business is, whether it's from rent or cost of bags or cost of this, or we had somebody 2 years ago tell us that we owe them $250. We said, why is that? Because we just upgraded to a gas furnace. You upgraded to a gas, we said, we did that to make it more efficient. They said, yeah, but you're now so efficient that you could do a bigger building, so you should pay. And I looked at the guy, I said, wait a minute, so that's like giving me a speeding ticket for driving a Maserati at a stop sign. We're never going to use all that electricity that we could use, or all that energy that we could use. Doesn't matter. You put it in your building, now you pay. Right? And that's the kind of stuff that we, as a business, we sit and go, God, we're doing everything we can to work with the community. Don't strap us down at the end of the day, so now we're sitting with 5,000, 10,000 bags that we can't get rid of, or that we have to charge a customer for, which alienates them. So that's really what we're asking. It's not if. We do believe in this. My wife and I have talked about this a lot. Even beer can tabs, that stuff we see, that is not what we want to have in the business. But we got to figure out how to do it. All right, and when it's going to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janine Salvador. I am on the Montclair Environmental Commission. I've never spoken at a public meeting like this before. As an environmental commission, we worked hard to work with the community to draft this ordinance, and we really understand. We love our community. That's why we serve. We love the environment. That's why we serve. And we're here to help the township to do the right thing. We have to take steps. We won't know what's going to work until we start taking steps. That's how we're going to work out what works, what doesn't work, and time is running out. So we really don't have a whole lot of time to be waiting for other people. We are the people that we are waiting for. It's for us to take the steps. Montclair has a reputation of being very forward-facing environmentally, and so this is an opportunity for us to really get out in front and, be amongst the people leading the crowd. And so I would just like to encourage everyone to really put on working hats and let's work out something that actually gets this done. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deborah Kagan. I'm at 66 Beverly Road. I think this is an issue that really touches on behavior change for all of us, not just about changing our minds. We, in Montclair, we teach our children that we think that they can change the world, make it a better place, and in order to do that, we have to change the way we're doing things. And changing behavior and changing the way we do things is difficult. It can be inconvenient, it can cost more money, but I think it is clear to people in the town, I believe that the town understands the severity of the pollution crisis that's going on in our waters and waterways. I think that people in the town want to do the right thing. The thing is, we have to sometimes take that leap to make those changes that might be inconvenient. So I've been shopping locally for 30 years in this town. I love this town. I love shopping here. I have a large group of bags, recyclable bags, in the back of my car that I try to remember to take out when I'm shopping. But sometimes I forget. I was just today at Angelo, and I had a bag in my car and I didn't take it out when I went shopping. And that's because I'm an individual trying to change my behavior. And I'm trying, and I try to do my best. But I think this is an opportunity for a leadership body in our town to make policy that helps individuals change their behavior. And it can be bumpy. It can be, we will find things later on that may not be as smooth for this ordinance. But I believe that the attempt to have the grandfathering in of the bags is looking forward to support the retail in the town. I think that the town wants to do the right thing, that people are ready for this. A lot of people, consumers, support businesses that now do and support social good. There are many businesses that rely on cause marketing, which is the same kind of thing. I think that's the approach that we want to support our businesses to have, that we would support our businesses because they're going to support this kind of an ordinance, and that the details of the grandfathering should be in the ordinance, and that we should do the right thing. We can do it. Montclair can have a role in what is obviously a global crisis. It's important for us to do it now, to do the right thing, and it's the kind of leadership I think that we look to our town council to have. So I hope that the town council will vote in favor of this ordinance.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Joanne
evening.
Smalls. I am a resident here in Montclair, and I'm here with Greener Montclair. I was watching a documentary 2 days ago, and when the person would go into a butcher and get a piece of meat, they would put it in a newspaper and wrap it up. Or if they would go to the store and buy an item, they would put it in fabric and put it on a bow. 40, 50 years ago, right? And it wasn't complicated, you know? And I think that we here sometimes get a little comfortable and we want what we want, but, you know, we love Montclair and we love the earth. And there's times when I'm walking my dog and there's plastic bags everywhere in Montclair, and I feel like it's my duty sometimes to pick them up. And sometimes they're wet and they have a lot of stuff in there and I don't have a glove, you know? But just eliminating plastic bags in our town, just starting here, would help clean Montclair up. Also reduce the plastic bags that are going into our ocean, and our fishes are eating them, and then we're eating the fish, you know? And a lot of times you'll go on YouTube and watch a documentary and they open up this, you know, the fish in the oceans, and you'll see there's plastic in them, you know? So I think that making change is hard sometimes, you know? Once you make that change and you see the results of the change, it'll help. It'll help our town become cleaner and wiser and more conscious of what's going on, you know, within the world, you know? So I know some stores right now, owners that have store owners that are here in Montclair that have already made the change. They've gone already into paper. And I do think that the supply that the store owners already have, and they have maybe already 50, 60, you know, boxes of plastic bags, that would be a waste, right? For them to just kind of get rid of them. And it's money that they did spend. And if they can be able to include that clause in there and be able to use those plastic bags, or find existing towns. Somebody gave me this idea today. Find existing towns that have not passed the ban and see if maybe they would purchase their, you know, their boat bags that they already have. You know, I know that's an extra step that we have to take, but this is a topic about change and taking that extra step. You know, we haven't done this in Montclair, you know. I've been able to do it myself, where I carry a cloth bag everywhere I go. I've forgotten that cloth bag and I've left stores with the items in my hand without the bag. It's a change that I made, but we're talking about a whole town, right? Making this change. But it's our town and we love this town. You know, I love this town. And I want to see that change happen. So Green Montclair is in favor of banning the plastic bags. I would hope that everyone in this room would really, really think on the toll that is taking in the environment, but I'm not trying to save the whole world. I'm trying to help Montclair. I want to see Montclair get better and better. And I know that this is not on the agenda right now, but you keep sparkling. I was very surprised that you're not the existing deputy mayor here. And you sparkle and continue to be a beacon of light. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Maura Toomey. I'm a resident.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Yes. Is the microphone on? Okay. I'll just try to speak up. I'm sorry. So my name's Maura Toomey. I'm a resident of Montclair, and I also work for Clean Water Action. Our North Jersey office is here in Montclair, and this is where we piloted our program Rethink Disposable, which is helping to incentivize reuse. And so this is kind of a great moment for Montclair. I'm very excited to see that this is being considered. I think it's about time that we've taken this kind of action, because I think it'll make the wide-scale habit change that we do need to see, as others have already said. We know that the problem is only getting worse. We see that recycling is getting harder, more trash is ending up being incinerated. The problem, more ocean pollution, you know, it's only getting worse, so now is the time to take action on this. We've done the education work, we've done the outreach. People know that they need to do this as a personal step, but now it's time for us to take the further step to see the wider scale change, and this will definitely make that happen. Over 30 towns in New Jersey have already passed these ordinances, and more are on the way, and it would be great to see Montclair be one of those leaders. And I grew up in Montclair. I first learned about all of these issues in elementary school, in a public school here in Montclair, and 20 years later, we're now going to pass a ban. So it's good to see that, you know, we're finally getting to that point where we're taking this kind of action. So thank you for everyone who's worked on this, and I'm excited to see this happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you? My name's Jerry Gaskins. My wife and I own Montclair Antique Center on 34th to 3rd Church Street. We probably take, between ourselves and Pam, about the largest space there is on Church Street as far as retail is concerned. I'd like to ask you gentlemen and ladies, how many of you ever have owned a brick and mortar store or have had any access to that? Have any of you ever owned a brick and mortar store? So you haven't, okay? Well, brick and mortar today is a very, very difficult situation because the customers are fighting us, we are fighting the internet to do business and what have you. I don't have a problem with plastic bags being done away with. I do have a business in China. I know how plastic bags are made. I know the bag that she's got over here that came from the environment thing, the non-woven bag, I know how it's made. It puts a lot of carbon into the atmosphere when they make these bags, and they take this PET bottles and they take and recycle them, and they take and make out plastic bags again. So I know how all that's done, and I know all the problems there are in China with that, okay? But I do have a problem with this, charging the customers to be able to pay for a bag when they walk in my store. It's very difficult for me to take a 22, I think pound or whatever it is, bag and put a Cartier ring in it. I mean, the customer's gonna walk out with a bag this big and we'll have a Cartier ring in it like that, and that's the minimum that we've got to be able to make a bag with, okay? I think a path forward needs to be made between the committee here and the retailers who this is going to affect, that we need to get together and we need to talk about this before we start throwing out these different responses and also these different things of which are fines if we don't correspond to, you know, the ordinance that you're getting ready to pass. I mean, for you to charge somebody $100, you know, if they don't do this. And the other thing I have a problem with, and maybe the council over here might be able to tell me, that you're going to be able to come in and you're going to be able to look at my receipts and you're going to be able to see if I charge somebody 10 cents or 25 cents for a bag, and you're going to be able to do that. I don't think that's legal to a certain extent, and I think that's something that we need to look at also in this whole situation, okay? So as far as the plastic bags is concerned, you want to do away with them, that's fine, okay? She's got one over there that's recycled. If you saw the amount of gas that goes into the air when they recycle this pulp and these things, you would take probably a little second look at that also. But I do have a problem with charging customers for the use of coming in my store and me telling them I'm going to charge you 10 cents for a bag or 25 cents for a bag, and I got to write it down on the bottom of the receipt. And I have a problem with some kind of enforcement group from the city coming in and being able to look at that receipt and see if I've charged that customer and being able to look at the customer's personal information. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Holly Felber. I'm here on behalf of the Upper Montclair Business Association. And I would like to start with, we fully support a single-use plastic bag ban. We've reiterated that over and over again. I feel that this ordinance is misnamed because maybe 10% of it deals with single-use plastic bags. The bulk of that ordinance puts lots of regulations on small businesses. It dictates the types of bags we have to use. It dictates what they have to be made of. It dictates that we have to have bags for customers. We have to charge our customers for bags. But if we accidentally charge someone who's receiving public assistance, we're in violation of the ordinance. So I have a lot of questions here. I think that it's great that Lyle showed us some bag options that were all from supermarkets. We represent a group of businesses that are small mom and pops. We are low volume users of bags. We don't use, and if most of you know, we don't use the plastic bags. If any of you have shopped in our stores, have any of you ever shopped in Upper Montclair businesses? Okay, So you know we do not use single-use plastic bags. We use paper bags. I think we should be allowed to use any stock that we own, orders that we have placed. Some of our members have placed orders. They placed them back in March. They won't get the bags until September, and they're budgeted to be used for the next 2 years. And I'll reiterate what some of the other people said. We as retailers are working on tiny margins. Tiny margins. We can't compete with an Amazon. And we hope that our customers love our service, and that's why they come to us. We line your streets and make the streets look pretty. So I hope that there can be some compromise here. And do any of my questions get answered this evening? Does anybody answer any question I pose?
I'm not sure I heard one, but what was the question? I didn't hear
Oh,
one.
well, here's one. A member of the Environmental Commission just stood up and said there was an amendment made to the ordinance that says that any bags purchased before a certain date can be used until we finish them. Okay, has that amendment been added? So then can this ordinance be voted on this evening?
It can be or it could not be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the version of the ordinance that was published by the town council in the Montclair Times on July 4th is not the ordinance that will be voted on?
Well, here's the way the process works. We have the first reading, which is to present the ordinance that was originally written. That goes for public viewing and for public comment. And then we have this session, a second meeting, a public hearing, where we hear comments from the public and retailers and so forth who have may want to make revisions to the ordinance, have suggestions. And depending upon the nature of those and how, if they are significant enough, we may have to go back and reintroduce. Ms. Landon indicated that the committee had some amendments that it wants to make to the ordinance. That would be factored in. So it's an iterative process that we're going through here. I think it's fair to say that all of us all of us want to get this done as soon as we possibly can. But we're also, I think I can speak for the committee and for the council, that we're also sympathetic and understanding of some of the concerns that have been brought to us and are not dismissing them. But this is the form in which to do that.
Okay.
And it's not it's not sort of an us against them kind of thing.
Sure.
We want to hear input, and that's what this
Well,
is all about.
should I read the email that we sent to you, Mayor Jackson?
Sure, if you wish.
Okay. We emailed Mayor Jackson and the Town Council on July 10th. Dear Mayor Jackson and Town Councilors, below you will find the Upper Montclair Business Association's comments and questions regarding the proposed single-use plastic bag ban ordinance. UMBA supports banning single-use plastic bags. The majority of UMBA membership does not use single-use plastic bags. Number one, we ask that a grandfather clause be added that would cover bags a merchant already knows without a deadline. Our membership are primarily small, low-volume stores. A bag order of 10,000 to 25,000 bags is calculated and budgeted to last approximately 2 to 3 years. Bag vendors have very high minimums, and it is cost prohibitive to purchase fewer. And what I did was research different state-level bills that have been passed and will go into effect soon. So an inventory exemption example from the state of Vermont. It will begin July 1st, 2020, and it is bill number S113. Section 6698, inventory exception. A store or food service establishment shall not violate a prohibition under this subchapter regarding the provision of a carryout bag, single-use plastic straw, single-use stir, or expanded polystyrene food service product if the store or food service establishment, number one, purchase the carry-out bag, single-use plastic straw, single-use stirrer, or expanded polystyrene food service product prior to May 15th, 2019. So that's giving, this doesn't even go into effect until July 2020. Number 2, definition of a retail establishment. Differentiate the type of retail. Small independent businesses are grouped with mass merchandisers, supermarkets, and discount chains. Small independent businesses have a much lower volume and use many fewer bags per year. And most of the small non-food businesses do not use single-use plastic bags at all. It is very difficult to put every type and size of business into one group. Set a size minimum for a retail store, as have most states, so there will not be a large financial burden on small independent businesses. A retail store size requirement example from the state of Delaware. Bill number 130 becomes effective January 2021. The law will apply to retail stores with a minimum of 7,000 square feet or has 3 locations of 3,000 square feet each. New York State, Title 27, becomes effective March 2020. Retail stores over 10,000 square feet or 5+ locations of 5,000 square feet each. Number 4, Section 4, fees for provision of compliant bags. The UMBA membership feels strongly that customers should not be charged for bags, but rather rewarded for bringing their own bags. We do not want this to be punitive. An example for exemption. Excuse me, I think I need some water.
Also, I'm going to, just for the sake of fairness, I just want to make sure, I give everybody equal time. Just sort of speed it up for me, please.
Okay, I'll speed it up. An example for exemption comes from the state of Maine, Bill number 1532. Section 3, recycled paper bag fees exemption. This subsection governs fees assessed on recycled paper bags. The requirement to charge a fee under the paragraph A does not apply to stores at which less than 2% of retail sales are attributed to the sale of food and that have less than 10,000 square feet of retail area. Section 6, point A, please remove, where we have to verify if a customer is exempt from paying for a bag by asking for proof of being a beneficiary of any assistance and or welfare program. Number 6, Section 6, point B, explain the Township Council Committee. Who will sit on the committee? What is the mission of the committee? What is the total scope of jurisdiction of the committee? And what is the criteria for being exempt from this ordinance? Section 6, point C, states that an exemption can never be appealed. Businesses evolve over the years. Why couldn't an exemption be appealed? Section 6, point D, fee for exemption is $100. Is this a one-time fee? Thank you. The Upper Montclair Business Association. Now, we emailed this to everybody. Not everybody acknowledged that they received this email, which is unfortunate. Maybe you all received it and read it, but only maybe 3 people said they got it. We're feeling very frustrated. We feel we have no advocates. We're little tiny businesses. Our budgets are tiny. Do you know how many businesses have closed in Montclair this year? This puts a big financial burden on us. And how do I get the answers to my questions? Do I get them at another meeting? Or are you going to pass this tonight? I'm frustrated.
I can tell. The point of this process is that we are, again, looking for input from the public, from people who want to make what they view to be improvements to it. And we are and as we're listening to you tonight, we understand that you have some issues. And again, I'm just reiterating that the point of this process is to hear those concerns. Our Education Committee, which consists of Councilor Spiller, Councilor Slager, Councilor Herlock, have been taking the lead on this issue along with the Environmental Commission, and have been trying to figure out ways to make this work for everybody. So I don't think you should feel put upon. I don't think you should feel less of an advocate, because if we were just doing this and we're just going to push it through, we wouldn't be going through this process tonight. This is to try to work through, and business owners in Upper Montclair and all over town are critically important to our community, as is our environment to everybody here, and we're trying to do something that we think makes sense, that I think the gentlemen are all in favor of, but we want to be fair, and we want to understand that the business climate is difficult. We want to be supportive as much as we possibly can. So we appreciate your input. We're not going to just wash it away. It's going to be absorbed by the committee and by the commission. Again, the commission itself has changes that it would like to make in the ordinance. So it's a work in progress here.
Okay, and I will say again that we support the ban of single-use plastic bags, because we've been misquoted in the press. We do not want single-use plastic bags. We do not use single-use plastic bags. But this ordinance, it puts too much on the shoulders of small business.
Understand? We got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I hope you got it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Suzanne, and I own a specialty retail store on Bellevue Avenue. I'm part of UMBA. I think it would be very nice if the Environmental Commission, the members of the board that actually going to work on this, and us actually sat together for a single meeting and talked about it before it was voted on. As you can hear, most of us don't use plastic bags. The paper bags most of us use are also our marketing tools. I'm sure you have all gone to a specialty store and come out with the bag with the name on it. There are so many little issues. I strongly will refuse to show my receipts. It is a proprietary thing. My customers don't even want to give out their email to the public. They are very private. It is no one's right to know what a single person spends or doesn't spend. You can't ask people, oh, are you on any sort of assisted program? That's discriminatory. And whether they come into the store or not, that's not actually for me to judge, nor do I have any way to judge by how people, I don't know, look. So there are so many little things that should be addressed that afterwards it's not like, oh, well, that we kind of didn't think about. So I ask, as Holly has on part of UMBA, that we do not vote on this today, but that we flush it out a little better. Single-use plastic bags is something that we all agree that we do not use, therefore it's not an issue for us. But half of this thing is about paper bags, and it doesn't even have that in the title. And so I ask that you table your vote tonight, and let's be more specific about the details of it. And we are all happy to comply. We are all environmentally conscious. That's why we're in Montclair, and that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deirdre Malloy. I am a member of the Montclair Environmental Commission, and I do have brick and mortar family members who own brick and mortar stores, and I'm familiar with the impacts that this kind of ordinance will have on small businesses. To the point of the Environmental Commission making this recommendation is, as we all know, the environment is in danger. It is in danger of carbon footprints, gas emissions, plastics, etc. So this is a start. And what I would say to the public is this is one of the reasons the Environmental Commission had made this recommendation, is because we want input from everybody. And this is a good start. It's important for business owners to come out. The Environmental Commission meeting is open to the public. And me personally, I've not seen many business members come out to have a conversation about this. Excuse me, hear what I'm saying before you interrupt me, okay? I speak really clearly, and when I speak, it's diplomatically, intentionally. What I said was, me personally, I have not seen many environmental business owners come to the meeting to voice their opinions. That is a fact. I respect your opinion. I'd appreciate it if you respected mine. As I was saying, this is why we do this process, as you have stated, Mr. Mayor, from time and time again. It is important that we take a look at what this municipality is going to do to get on board with many others and many other states as it relates to plastic bag banning, the type of bag a small business and or any business would use. And my personal opinion is I do not think, because of the types of businesses that Montclair has, that a square footage factor would be relevant. I think this is a change in behavior, as it was mentioned before, and this is something for everyone, not just business owners, because I too struggle with, do I want a plastic bag or do I leave my bag in the trunk? If I leave it in the trunk, do I remember? Not always. So sometimes I walk out of the store without a plastic bag, but to the point of my remarks, it's a change in behavior. And me personally, I'd like to see more input, something that the Environmental Commission can take a look at along with the recommendations or the changes that we have made, because we are considering the impact that this is going to have on small business, or any business for that matter. It will cause businesses to take a look at their supply and demand and some other things. And with regard to asking people specifically whether or not they're on public assistance, that is discriminatory, so that really can't be done. The other thing I'd like to say is if anybody has any input that they would like to make, please. I'm all for having another conversation about this, but I think this is something we should take a look at seriously to move forward. It's just a matter of how. What are the components of it? And as it relates to change and things of that nature, Amazon was mentioned before. Amazon is literally asking people if they want to be hired to work from home to do logistics of products. Neighborhoods, your street, my street. I'm hearing it on 1010 Winds all the time. So, you know, depending on the type of service and or business or product, I should say, that one offers, I mean, that's something else to look at. Change is happening. We can't get away from it. And I think that with all the people here who've made really good suggestions and have expressed extremely great concerns, and I respect them all, but I do think this is something that we really need to take a look at seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Claire Hand, and I've been a Montclair resident for almost 19 years. I've heard a lot of great arguments today. And one of the things I think is about the impetus on the store owners. And I think that it should be more on the township to do more of the execution and how we can roll this out. I think we all agree that plastic bags are bad and we have to find a way to resolve this. I've been using reusable bags and bins when I go shopping now for about 10 years. And I know it's a small contribution, and I'm hopefully reducing the number of single-use plastic bags being used. But sometimes it's a challenge to like stop service, especially when you're in ShopRite or whatever, and they're already putting your things into the plastic bag, and you're saying, no, wait, I've got my own. You know, all of a sudden you're trying to remember, and then they throw that bag away, and it's just things like that. It's a culture mentality that we have to change overall. So one of the things that I saw is that I'm from Europe, and when I go back, everywhere I go, they give a bag to you, but you have to pay for it. It's a bag tax. It is a tax. And I think that if we get into that mentality of it being a tax, then that can overcome some of our challenges. So one of the other things that I've been looking at is Orlando, the city of Orlando decided to embark on an initiative to reduce the number of single-use plastic bags in their community and the surrounding Central Florida communities. With over 6 to 8 million visitors a year, which is 15 times more than their residents, their problem is more challenging than ours, obviously. They knew that's unsustainable, so they decided to do something about it. Their initiative is called Orlando Shops Responsibly. Their goal is to help reduce costly plastic bag waste and the pollution it causes. They engage with a non-profit organisation who already made these bags and bins, which for full disclosure are the ones that I use, and that's how I heard about them. And the City of Orlando purchased them and gave them out to visitors and residents to use. And I have no data yet available on how successful this is, but it was on the township who actually made this initiative happen and purchased those bags. Although we're nowhere near the size of Orlando, we have many activities over the year that draws in many visitors. The Iris Gardens, the Art Museum, Jazz Festival, Montclair Film, just to name a few. Montclair Film is still growing. It's still in its inception, as you're probably all aware, and we're getting more and more attraction to that. And in doing so, we will gain more and more visitors. So we need to look at sustainable solutions now. This is taking a small step in removing single-use plastic bags from our community, and one small step we can get behind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eileen Birmingham. I'm a resident of Montclair. I'm here again with my daughter Vivian to speak in support of a plastic bag ban. I should say in 2006 I was a resident of San Francisco, and in 2006 San Francisco was discussing banning plastic bags, and I remember hearing a lot of what we're hearing today. San Francisco did ban the bag in 2007. Later added a tax on bags, and so I think we should remember there does seem to be some things that need to be worked out here, but this is not a new concept, and I think we have enough evidence to know that at this point it is the ban plus the fee on the bag that really encourages the reuse behavior that we really want to encourage. I think we really want to get behavior change, because I think that's really where we have to go. The idea that you need a bag for every purchase is just not true. I have 2 things that I purchased today in this bag here that so I think we just want to remember that the bag, this is not a new concept. It is the fee, and I think I'm hearing from small business owners they're uncomfortable with that concept. Again, I think residents of Montclair will understand this is part of an ordinance. This is what we're doing to encourage healthy behavior change. So I just want to again say I think we've got to think of the future. There are things obviously in the short term that will need to be worked out, but it's really long-term goals that we're going for. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Beth McFarland. I manage Jaffa Gems on Valley Road, and I live in the Central Business District for about 30 years. Plastic we all get. Nobody likes it. I would go for the dry cleaners and the straws and the cup lids and balloons and everything. But I agree with many people, plastic and seems to be all in one big lump sum. So you're looking for improvements. My main confusion is why I would ask a customer for 10 cents. If they come in, they buy a beautiful gift, it goes into our beautiful bag, gets tissue paper, and I charge them a dime for that. It probably would cost me $1.75 to present it to them the way I would like to, which is what we would do. A dime is not compensation. I'm not sure where that whole 10-cent thing came from. I just don't even understand it. I think that has to be looked at. If that's supposed to be something that a retailer is going to be happy about, I don't understand. And I think the customer is going to be baffled. As they're baffled with the parking meters, they're baffled with the tickets. They're already so baffled when they come to town. They're full of questions about how things work and blah, blah. So to say there's a 10-cent charge is a little crazy. I think I don't even want to address like grandfathering in inventory, because I'm sure that that will be resolved. That's just common sense. The fact that a bag has to be printed, that it says that it's 40% post-consumer recycling, I think that's another hardship on the business. We would have to get our printing plates re-engraved to reflect that. That's an expense that is unnecessary. It's labor that's unnecessary. There could be documentation at the store that these bags are whatever it is they're supposed to be. And if somebody wants to see what it is, fine, we'll show them. The other thing that maybe this lovely woman brought up, but I don't feel like it's come up, is I feel like there has to be some sort of parallel project going on within the community. Some sort of public awareness, not that it's not out there and it's preaching to the choir, I'm sure, but do you need a bag? Are you, don't take a bag if you don't need it. I mean, make it more of a campaign to, sure, we all have bags in our trunk and all that, but use them. I mean, get rid of the plastic, use what you can use and reuse and wash. But to put all these things on a small business, to me, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. People are coming to our stores because they're small boutiques, they're buying gifts, they want a presentation to give to their mother on Mother's Day. They don't, they're not going to bring in their Save the Seal bag from the A&P and put their mother's birthday present in it. That's, I think, where a lot of us are coming from. And as someone mentioned, it is our marketing. It's you walk down the street, that's your advertising. And that's what's under everybody's, Christmas tree or menorah or whatever they have. And that's what we want to maintain. Thanks.
Thank you.
An aside, I was very disappointed and shocked to hear that his Baskerville was passed over for the deputy mayor position. That was upsetting. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Silk, and I'm a Montclair resident of 25 years. A small business owner, but that doesn't not retail, so it really doesn't relate so much to the ordinance today that's being discussed. But I just wanted to say that we should believe in our consumers, believe that our customers and our clients will be loyal, that our actions are no longer just about me, it's about my family, my community, our state, and our planet. And we can all do something about it. There's so many things today that we can't do anything about, and it just wears us down. But this we can, and I went from being a very wasteful person to being a person who recycled everything, and my recycling bin was bigger than my garbage bin, to being a person who just uses less. And I learned all of that from my kids. They were like, don't think you're so great because you're recycling. That's nothing. Like, that just goes into the ocean, and that's really bad. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, don't get your coffee from Dunkin' Donuts in styrofoam. It takes 500 years and blah, blah, blah. But the point is that we can learn and we can do better. And I'm not saying that the ordinance being presented is perfect. I'm hearing these business owners, and there certainly are things that need to be addressed and changed. But the bottom line is that the problems that we are talking about today are much easier to fix than cleaning out the ocean or to saving our planet. We can make these small changes. And people notice, and people just inherently want to do better. I think we should believe in our customers. I know for example, there's a restaurant on Church Street that is green. They don't give you a straw. If you get something to go, it's in a paper box with a paper bag, and I understand, the cost of doing that. But I tend to say, I want to eat there, or if I'm getting takeout, I want to go there, because this place over here gives you your food in styrofoam, and they're going to give you a straw and unwrap it before you have a chance to say, oh, I don't want to do that. there are ways that we can do better. In the same way that many of us have learned to carry a water bottle. So for my business, I used to give out water bottles. Like, oh, I'm so great. Like, I give everyone a water bottle when they come. And then I was like, that's bad. So then I said, well, I'll just give them a cup of water. And then I said, no, I can do better. I'll give them a glass. I could do better. Do you have a water bottle? Can I fill your water bottle for you? So we can make these small steps that will have an impact, that will make a difference. Believe in your customers. They will be loyal. They will appreciate that you are doing something positive for the community, for them, for the community, and for the planet, and they will be loyal. And people will learn. They will learn to bring a bag. And, you know, a couple of people have said, oh, I've gone to the store and I've had to walk out carrying, you know, maybe some personal things that you don't want everyone to know. Well, I guess what? I won't forget my bag next time. I will remember it. So that's it. Thank you.
Hi, Egan Carroll. I am here from the Upper Montclair Business Association, but also from Frederick's Fine Jewelers in Upper Montclair, which used to be known as Frederick Goodman, and it's recently changed over. So I don't want to echo what everyone else has already said. I think that we've got our point out there, but I cannot stress enough that we are in favor of the ordinance as long as it's well-defined. I think it's clear that we can't, there are things that need to be looked at before anyone can vote on it. For one, our business directly will be affected if any of our customers, as a fine jeweler with sensitive purchases, think that anyone can look at our receipts. That is just a given. Besides the fact that our engagement rings are not going to fit into a bag that can hold 22 pounds. That's just unrealistic. But most of them actually opt to not get a bag anyway. But the case of the privacy is huge for us, and we don't want to have to ask them if they're on any sort of public assistance before we charge them for a bag. It's not good customer service. The other thing I wanted to say while I'm up here is that as soon as we found out about the ordinance on June 7th, we were here at the Montclair Environmental Commission meeting on June 12th. We voiced our concerns. I emailed you all a bunch of times our questions and everything. But I think we are in favor of it. We support it. We support the planet and the environment and moving forward. We just want to feel like our businesses won't suffer, because the other part of what makes Montclair so special is its walkability and its small businesses and the sense of community. And for us, when I went through the going out of business sale of Frederick Goodman, so I've been through a small business closing, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And it's horrible, and I saw people who had their jobs for 35 years almost lose their jobs, and that's a big deal. So small businesses closing is a very real thing that we can't just say it might happen, it might not happen. A small impact can make a huge impact. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Holly Felber from the Upper Montclair Business Association. Just one other thing I'd like to let all of you know. Since we found out about this ordinance on June 7th, which is unfortunate that we didn't find out about it until then, I've talked to many business owners throughout Montclair. I walked up and down Church Street last Friday. Only one business knew about this. I think there's a lot of businesses who don't even know that this is under discussion, let alone the general public. Everyone sees that it's called the single-use plastic bag ban and they go, rah, that's awesome. But I don't think people really know the guts of it. And I think there needs to be time to educate the consumer, the taxpayer, the citizens of Montclair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Scott.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Thank you all for coming. I own a small business, Scott Kennedy, Studio 042, Bloomfield Avenue. I own a small business. I own my houses here. I put my kids through my schools. You guys represent us. We've elected you. We trust you are going to do it in your best interest what's right for us. We didn't elect the Environmental Commission. And I believe it's completely disingenuous on their part to try and sneak this ordinance through in June and July and August when most of the businesses are asleep. We're busy. We're on vacation. The business improvement, Sean, I'm sorry. You lied to this committee. You lied to this council when you said the bid was in favor of this. You rarely go to your council board meetings at the bid. You and Renee are the representatives of the council on the bid. You represent those wards, but you guys rarely go. When you say the bid is in favor of this, the bid director said she sent out an email, the same email channel she uses to advertise sidewalk sales, board meetings. And her response was, 3 people responded, 200 opened the email, so I assumed they were good with it. That's not a proper way to look into our greater community. I walked up and down my street on Bloomfield Avenue and spoke with most of my neighbors, and they went, "What? Where is this?" And I said, "Didn't the executive director from the bid come and see you?" And they go, "I have no idea who that is." So you guys have some issues here. Every one of the ordinances, I believe the lady, Holly, said, every one of those differences, those ordinances were tailored for their community, probably based on input. Why not do the same thing here? There's no small businesses up here. And I don't think there's many small businesses in the Environmental Commission. But there are hundreds of small businesses that are carrying the freight of this ordinance. I think the town of Montclair should stop in its tracks. Don't hold your vote, but field a committee. Some of the environmental folks, some of the UMBA people from Upper Montclair, some of the other business people, some of the residences. Field a committee for this specific ordinance. Let them tailor it for us. We're not Jersey City. I understand you guys are trying to drive the agenda because the state wants you to. But this is Montclair. We're the ones paying the taxes. We're the ones charging the stuff. But I need you guys to listen to everyone in this community and decide that most of what's in this ordinance is onerous. I am not going to charge my customers for a bag. I get pissed when my vendors charge me for fuel. How else are you going to get the truck to me? So what I would like you to do is stop this ordinance right here and decide from the Township of Montclair that you're going to give up single-use plastic bottles as a watering station in the back. Single-use plastic cups on your tables right in front of you. Who brought that bottle in? I did. You going to refill it? I doubt it. And so my point is, the Township of Montclair can go a long way. They can even print tens of thousands of these bags emblazoned with Montclair. You've got an advertising budget. If you buy them by the tens of thousands, they'll get used. Why not? Get the Film Society, get me, get all my partners to advertise on the bag. Get them out there. Don't make it an onerous ordinance. Don't have somebody come in here and say, "Excuse me, if I see your bill, I'm going to charge you $100. This ordinance is not our ordinance. It was brought to us, it was delivered to you. You tried to slip it through in July and August when most of us aren't here. And Sean, don't come to this council and say that the bid is in favor of it. When you don't go to the meetings, Sean.
Let's be clear. She is on the record here and other places stating the bid is supportive. So let's be clear. You may or may not like how she did that. She's not our employee. She works for the businesses. We do not employ her.
You are a board member on the Business Improvement District.
Correct.
And therefore, she is your employee.
Incorrect. She is an employee for the bid.
Right.
And those members are represented by the businesses in town, not through the municipality. Let's be clear.
The board of the bid hired her.
Let's be clear. She's represented. She represents the business community, hired by such. And the key is what you said, which we need to correct the record. she specifically said that the bid is in support. Now, you explained that you didn't like her process.
That is not the position of the
Hold on.
constituents.
Fair enough, you explained that you didn't like how she solicited that information. You didn't like who, fair enough, but that was her claim. She is the representative of the bid. That is the guidance that we go by. So when she says that the bid is supportive, fair enough. But when the bid says, the director, that the bid is supportive, I take her at her word, and that's what it stands for. So we need to be clear on that, but thank you.
So Mayor,
Yes, sir.
please table this. Sit down with your community and craft an ordinance that is ours. Every single one of the merchants I spoke to is in favor of recycling, in favor of multi-use bags. We don't like the onerous conditions. And please, put Montclair out first to me, and let them know that you are going to eliminate plastic in your business first. There's plenty of it in there. Get rid of it. Show us you can do it. Councilor, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, thank everyone for your input, and I really appreciate the opinions of those who are strongly advocating for this ordinance, and also want to thank the business owners who came out and expressed their opinion very forcefully and cogently. Thank you very much. It seems to me that there's some additional work to be done on this ordinance based on the input that we've received from all sides. So I'm going to actually defer to the committee about what action you would like to. I mean, I have a thought, but obviously I'll defer to the council members for discussion about where we should go from here.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I first want to thank the Environmental Commission for working on this. As this body, as you noted, Mayor, has been a leader, Montclair always has been, in terms of green community, in terms of being at the forefront of environmental issues. We asked the Environmental Commission to take a look at this and to come back with something and to observe other towns and municipalities to see what their best practices were. So I thank you for that. In addition, in attending Environmental Commission meetings, I appreciate the business owners who did attend, and I heard their comments at some of those meetings that you had, and I appreciate you trying to answer those, incorporate some of those into the ordinance that you brought forward to us. Certainly, and getting to maybe the big part of what you're saying, Mayor, I think there are pieces that can be clarified in here. For example, the legal requirements in terms of exemptions, which are not where someone asks affirmatively, but somebody has to tell or share that they are. Certainly the clarity around and the period with which a grace period is in effect, right? The conversation and the comment from the Environmental Commission, they're asked, Mr. Mayor, for it to be a period of time, whether that be a year or the bags purchased prior to a certain date. That's got the conversation that needs to occur. I agree with that as well, and I think there are components to this that have to be discussed further. But to be clear, I will say that it is not something where we can say we are supportive of a plastic bag ban and then give all the reasons why there should be no plastic bag ban. It is important when we talk about taking the lead on issues such as these that are environmental, you have to change individuals' behavior. And when you change behavior, it is not, unfortunately, done something that is done easily. When we look at a lot of the pieces, and I might work backwards, the same reason why individuals are, quote-unquote, pissed when they have to pay for whatever it may be, is exactly what you want to elicit for people to change behavior around plastic bags. So charging fees, making sure we have bags that are reusable, making sure we do things that stop the continual pollution of our environment that are absolutely within our control because of the devastating effects that won't affect maybe you, maybe me, but certainly our kids, our grandkids, and those that come after. We have to take the lead on issues like this, and we always have in the past. So for me personally, absolutely, I think there are some things we should look at. When we talk about a grace period for products that have been purchased already, absolutely, who can disagree? When we talk about what that should look like in terms of what you already have or some period of time, fair conversation. But if we get to the point where what you've already purchased, you're allowed to use up, but then at that point, we're saying, moving forward, you've got to provide reusable plastic bags, or you need to be charging, right? You need to be charging to help change that behavior. I don't think that is that unreasonable, because people will change behavior. The data is out there that shows it, and anecdotally, I think many of us know it. I personally have the experience of shopping a couple times at the Aldi that's down the street in Bloomfield, and walking into that store, maybe you've experienced it for the first time, they charge you for the bags, right? They charge you 10 cents per bag, and if you forgot to walk in with your bags, they charge you for each one of those bags that you use. I feel back on that experience versus when you might walk into Whole Foods, where they credit you 10 cents for bringing your own bag. It is completely different in terms of which one drives a change in behavior. The data shows it, but also you can feel it. When you've got to go in, and even though it's not onerous, if you happen to forget once and twice or whatever that may be, you're paying 10 cents a bag. But when you're paying 10 cents, 10 cents, 10 cents, 10 cents, and you see it, you go, oh, wow, that was a lot. If you go into Whole Foods and you don't see your credit or you don't remember, it's a different feeling because you don't even really see it or feel it. We've got to implement the methods that change behavior, because honestly, doing nothing or doing something that doesn't work is not enough. That time has come and that time has gone. We are at a critical point for this earth. We are at a critical point in terms of leading as a community, and that is the space I think that we need to be in. So there are absolutely pieces that need to be looked at. There are absolutely, though, key reasons why some of the components in here, such as charging a fee, are essential to that change in behavior. So I think it's important we continue to have the conversation, Mr. Mayor. I think there's some good pieces and good examples in here, such as when you use paper, you can use smaller bags. You don't have to use the bigger sizes, was noted. You know, a lot of these things do not require things to be printed on the bag. I mean, I think a lot of that is addressed, but it's important that we share that out, make sure it's understood, because I heard some of those questions that were just different from what's written here, and we can absolutely clarify those pieces. I think really, for me, the discussion is around how long is the grace period? You know, what does that look like? That's a fair time period to allow businesses that have made a significant financial commitment to purchasing those bags. We make sure that's covered, right? So pick a time, though. Is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3? But at some point, we have to make sure we are then committed to changing that behavior. And that's the area where I'm committed to focus on. And I think this community is as well, because we have been the leader, again, around environmental issues, whether it be the zip cars that we put in, whether it be the energy aggregation that we've led as a municipality, and also for our residents, saving them dollars at the same time, I might add. We have, on every issue, been leaders, and I think we need to stay there and remain there, and I'm proud of that position. We need to make sure we incorporate some of these pieces, but we need to stay proudly pro-environment, and that's where I come down on this issue. Happy to look at it, Mr. Mayor.
Any other?
Mayor, I want to say my father owned a small business in Newark, which I helped him on the truck deliver soda. He delivered Hoffman soda and all the different sodas except Brookdale soda, which was his competitor. But I experienced a small business owner struggling and then very, very sadly going out of business when things changed. The economy changed to the point where people didn't want soda delivered to their home, just like the milkman went out, you know. So my father went out of business in the 70s, and it was a tragic thing, but I saw a lot of stress put on him. But he always used to say to me, you know, we have to do things to make sure the environment is protected. We got rid of certain types of packaging. We got rid of certain types of boxes, whatever was carried. He was always looking at the environment and making sure his small business was complying with the rules. Now, government is often seen, regulations often seen as being onerous. We're going to try to make this much less onerous. I hope that we can look at small business concerns, because I'm sensitive, having had a dad who owned a small business. But at the same time, I want to make it very clear that I see the crisis in this country and the world, the climate change issues, the environmental issues, you know, these things have come to a point of crisis. So we have to take action. Montclair has to be a leader, and we've always done that. So let's get the input. Let's get the changes made, but let's go forward to protect the environment, because there's no going back now. You see, that's why the kids, my students at college and students in our high school, elementary students, they're all saying, we've got to do something because our generation didn't do enough Our generation, maybe I'm the older one here, but my generation didn't do enough, and we failed young people by not doing enough, so it's time to do something significant.
Councilor Hurley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, we've received a lot of information this evening, and many of you that spoke, I consider you personal friends, and I understand where you're coming from, and we want to make this better. There's a couple of clarifications I have to make, though. First off, and I respect the work that Councilor Spiller did, but this did not go through the Education Committee. So, I mean, Robin and I just talked about that, so just so that we're clear on that. And I know that I responded to UMBA, and I talked to my good friend out there who's wearing a very nice colored shirt this evening, Mr. Paul Giordano, about this. So I hope I'm one of the 3 that was included in the comments that were made earlier. Obviously, we have to, and Lyle, I've known you for years. Your daughter's here this evening. It's good to see you. There's a lot of work that we still need to do on this, and I'm committed to making the changes that need to be made to address the concerns, the legitimate concerns that the businesses have raised, in addition to the concerns that the Environmental Commission has raised. But this is part of the process, as the mayor said. I'm glad to see that Mayor Jackson and my council colleagues have decided to table this so that we can address those concerns, we can have that conversation, and we can move forward. So thank you all for your input this evening. I found it very valuable, and we will take those comments, obviously, as we make the edits to the ordinance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Bashville?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is working now. I'd just like to say that I agree with what Councilman Spiller said, and I am in favor of supporting a ban on single-use plastic bags for all the obvious reasons. I appreciate all of you for coming out and sharing with us, and yes, it is very important that we listen to you, and that as the residents of the township here, that we include your thoughts and your ideas as we move forward with things of this magnitude. And Mr. Kennedy, I agree about the things that are this important taking place in June, July, and August. In fact, I've mentioned that regarding some other matters in the township. Also, I'd like to just let you know that when we were discussing this, many of us were talking about some positive incentives that we could do, such as the township having bags with a name on it and partnering with businesses such as yours and others. And so those are things that I certainly would be interested in pursuing, and I think that some of my colleagues we've discussed this. And so, yeah, that's an example of why I think it's a great idea for us to table this tonight and to continue to work at it. And so when we do vote on it, it says what we want it to say, and that it is something that is positive, and the education piece is very important in this, so that when people go down the street and they ask their neighbors if they're aware of this, they will know. It'll be a positive thing, very similar to when we did the rain barrels, and we had a thing from the township, and people got on board with that. So I'd like to thank you all for sharing your concerns and suggestions. I agree with many of them, and I'm excited about us continuing to work to get this done.
I want to also thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I learned a lot from you, from listening to you. I have always supported this single-use plastic bag ban, but you brought up so many issues and concerns that I hadn't considered before, including one where my husband is a journalist, and we get 3 newspapers delivered to our house every day. So every week we get 21 of these bags delivered to my house. And luckily we have a dog, so I recycle these, but that's a lot. These are a lot of, I can't use as many bags as we have for my dog. But some of them say that they're recycled. Some of them say that they're not, and this is very troubling to me. I also liked what somebody said about changing behavior, and I think that we all concurred with that. For many of us who shop at Costco, I've been shopping there for 15 years, they have no bags, ever. And you use their recycled boxes, and they have them all stored there. And I think that's a wonderful example of recycling that Costco does. The same thing with, not that I shop there very often, is Lululemon. Their bags are recycled bags, and I see people use them over and over and over again. And it goes a long way with marketing on the side of their bags. So I also would concur with some of my colleagues. This needs another set of eyes to look at this ordinance. Many eyes. Many of you, I think, have things to add to this, and I welcome that. And I hope that that's what we will do going forward. Thank you.
I think we're all in agreement with the goal here, and I thank all of you for the education I received tonight. Personally, I've read this pending ordinance at least 8 times, and I do see many of the flaws that you point out. I particularly would like to thank Holly, Pete, and Scotty there for their very articulate explanation of the effect on the retail establishments. So I think we know where we're headed, but I think we all agree we need a lot of work to do. So thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I think, just so, one of the things I think we need to do is to make sure, though, that we have a schedule or some time frame of moving things along, so we're not just, we tabled it and it's never to be heard, because all of us want to stop the single-use plastic, you know, so we just have to figure out how we're going to do it, but I'm going to rely on the committee, you know, to work through that, and hopefully we'll get a schedule and move this along quickly. Thank you all for your input. Thank you. Yes, we'll take a potty break.
Talk to you. Yeah, people like the Lululemon bag, because when you carry that, it acts like you has. It's not like carrying a John Bargain bag. Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to start the meeting up again, please.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate your Hey, Paul.
But I'll pull it. Okay.
Madam Clerk?
The next ordinance is an ordinance establishing penalty for counterfeit permits.
Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard on this particular ordinance? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Council comments? Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville? Yes. Councilor Hurlock? Yes. Deputy Mayor McMahon? Yes. Councilor Russo? Councilor Stager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes.
The next ordinance is an ordinance amending and supplementing Montclair Ordinance creating a project labor agreement requirement for certain public works contracts and publicly funded projects.
Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard on this particular ordinance?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I know you had a long evening, with a lot of questioning. This ordinance means a lot to us for the Essex County Building Trades and for the members that we represent, for the men and women, for the future apprentices, that this ordinance will create job opportunities and careers. It's been a long time coming for us. We represent 22 locals in Essex County, different trades. They have a lot of members that live in the community. We have some members here that are part of Montclair residents. Some of them were here early. They had to leave. We had our Assemblyman Tom Gibbon, who was here today supporting us. And we sure appreciate your time and your efforts and your support. I know Mr. Russo and I have many discussions over the years related to this, and we're very happy at this moment, and we appreciate your support before your consideration. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard?
All the gentlemen.
All right. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Council comments?
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to say, as Lino just said, and my fellow union member said, and this is an important thing to me, but to the town primarily, because, we talk about, there's a lot of immigration conflict now, issues. Immigrants built this country, and labor unions built this country, and our labor unions deserve to be given the status and respect that they require and that they have worked for. So I'm glad to see that the council has agreed to do this ordinance, and I appreciate the support of my colleagues and the support of the unions, and I know Tom Giblin, our Assemblyman, who's also the head of the Essex West Hudson Labor Council, could not stay tonight, so I know he wanted to say something in support and in appreciation for our doing this, but I just want to thank my colleagues and thank the union leaders. This is a country of unions. The United States is a union, the United States of America. We're a union of 50 states. And the immigrants who came here over the years and built this country, and the unions that built this country, are what I'm very, very proud of. And I thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly want to echo my colleagues' comments that were just shared. I also want to add that I take great pride in the fact that we're moving forward really with setting conditions that allow people to work in a safe environment, that allow people who work and reside here and in this area to get jobs that provide a livable wage. Because all too often we see instances where people provide subpar jobs in terms of the pay, and we know what that can lead to. We also know how often we see exploitation on a work site when we talk about people who are taken advantage of by those in power when they have less. So I think we've really tried to address a lot of components in this, components that allow people, again, to provide for their families, to do the great work that has to be done, but in a safe environment, and to make sure we balance the needs of all as we move forward. So I thank you for what you do every day. I thank you for your efforts, and I thank my colleagues for moving forward with something that addresses all of those pieces. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor? I'd just like to say that I enthusiastically support this, and I appreciate you all for bringing this to us. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to meet with some of you on several occasions, and I think something like this is long overdue in our township. I am especially appreciative of the apprentice opportunities that you have that will allow us to take residents in our township and move them into positions of greater wage earnings and establishing careers. So I thank you very much, and I am enthusiastically in support of this.
Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes.
The next
Thank you for your patience, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
The next one is a fully funded capital ordinance providing for paving and stripping of various parking lots.
Striping.
Striping.
Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard on this ordinance? Close the hearing. Council?
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Manager, just want to, I know we've discussed this at a few moments when things like this come forward, if you can have our parking director just take a look to see if there are better structures in terms of where the lines are placed that might allow for a space or two to be gained. I know that before we go and spend the dollars to repaint, there may be opportunities to pick up a spot or two. So if we could just take a look at that before we repaint, appreciate it. Thank you.
Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes.
The next,
If I may, just as I'm to be consistent, you note that it says fully funded capital ordinance. Once again, what this means is that we're not borrowing money to provide for these projects. We're paying for these out of cash that we've been, as part of our overall debt management plan, and it's again, I think, a testament to the good job that our staff has done to ensure that we have adequate funding and we're paying for things as we go versus borrowing. So kudos to everybody on that one.
Agreed.
the next ordinance is an ordinance amending certain parking fees and regulations.
Is there anyone present who wishes to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Council? Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. We have some new business ordinances. One is an ordinance to amend Montclair Code, Section 327, to include a multi-way stop intersection at Central Avenue and Brunswick Road. And I so move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock? Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. Item G is an ordinance amending Montclair Code, Chapter 65, Affordable Housing, and I so move.
Second?
Discussion? Mr. Mayor? I certainly want to thank my colleagues on our committee working on this, Councilwoman Baskerville and Councilwoman Schlager. This is an example, I think, and Mayor, I know you've been a champion for this as well. Really an opportunity where we have done a really good job in terms of meeting our affordable housing requirements, and because of that, have earned the flexibility in trying to do something that really provides for even more affordable housing for those in Montclair. We also, as you see here, Mayor, are looking to attract people doing the great work and serving our community to also take advantage of those opportunities in terms of those employed by the municipality or Board of Ed or those doing great public service here in town. So I am certainly excited to see exactly how we work through all this, Mr. Mayor, but I think it's a great example of another area where Montclair has always been in the lead, where we are able to provide affordable housing, but are providing affordable housing for the very residents of Montclair and those that serve our community so well. So I thank my colleagues for the work on this, and I look forward to us moving this forward as a full body in the future, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Councilor Rice.
I just also, in addition to thanking my colleagues on the EDC, I'd like to especially thank Mr. William Scott and Ms. Deirdre Malloy, the co-chair for the Housing Commission and the entire Housing Commission, because we have been discussing this for over a couple of years now, and I think it's really an awesome thing to see all of the labors and the discussions come to fruition. And so I'd like to thank you both and the entire committee for your steadfastness in your commitment and in your guidance, as well as to you, Councilman Spiller, Councilwoman Schlager, and hopefully for the support of the rest of the council.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. We have items 1 through 7, which are designed for the consent agenda. Does anyone have a reason to pull any of these individual items from the agenda?
I just had one question, if I may, on item number 3. Where exactly is that located, the St. Sebastian Festival for the fireworks?
Right at the
Is it on Grove Street at the?
Used to be on
Cavaney
Cavaney.
Field.
Cavaney, oh,
Yes.
Cavaney,
Uh-huh,
okay, thank you.
It used to be, is that where it is this time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, I wasn't sure, okay,
Cavaney.
thank you.
Then I will move items 1 through 7.
Second?
Roll call.
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. And if I just comment, I see PBA President Mr. Gold out there. Congratulations. I think a very good long-term agreement for both sides, and appreciate your working with us to make this happen, and your team and the entire MPD. It was great doing business with you. Thank you.
And you're right.
All right. Number 8 is a resolution authorizing 2019 Community Development Block Grant Reprogramming application, and I'll move that.
Second?
Discussion? Mhm.
Yes. I'd just like to state that I was a little bit surprised as the liaison to the Community Development Block Grant. I knew nothing about this until I saw this in my packet, and I know that Councilwoman Schlager and I historically have been involved, at least to get information and just to know what's coming up. So I'm not quite sure how this came to be, If someone can share that with me, fine. If not, maybe I'll speak with our planner tomorrow and try to get more information. I was unable to contact her today to find out. I'm very interested in this. I have absolutely no problem with it. I'm going to vote for it. But again, it's just a matter, I think, of a courtesy and a respect that, you know, we would be aware.
I can only speak from the other end of the process where there, you know, it's always encouraged to have towns to have shovel-ready projects because CDBG money comes back, and if you have something available that you can do, you can get something funded. How this particular one, I'm not sure. To your point, I don't know either, but I know that's generally the case. Actually, Bloomfield and Belleville are actually very good at getting that money. So I think. But that being said, I can't answer.
Oh, yeah. No, and again, I'm very familiar with that. I know that we've even talked about having some other projects shovel-ready in the past. So I'm not in any, I'm very much in favor of this. It sounds like, you know, definitely the way to go. But even so, you know, it would have been nice to know about it and to even see what other shovel-ready projects we may have had. I'm sure I would have agreed that this should take high priority.
I might be able to shed a little bit of light on
Okay.
this. This was in the township's application in the fall, and yet, although it was reviewed by the county and approved as an eligible project, it was not funded, given the funding limitations. That's why this is being put forward as the township's submission on short notice.
Okay.
So we made application for this in the fall. We got certain parts of our application funded, not this. It was deemed eligible. So for all intents and purposes, one would think that this being a shovel-ready project would be approved for reprogramming. That's why this was chosen.
No, and I appreciate it. Again, even in the fall, this project I was not in this, a part of that discussion. And so, again, you know, I think it's, I probably would have gone with it 100%. And moving forward, I'd just like to be included.
Thank you. Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. Item 9 is a resolution amending R 19-083, authorizing notice of intention to issue one hotel motel Holiday Inn.
That's exactly how you said it,
No tell.
Exception license by the historical method pursuant to the hotel motel exemption. I so move.
Second.
Discussion.
What does historical method mean?
Yeah, it's basically based on what's happened before, crisis and
The council adopted a resolution awarding this license at the last meeting, but when it was sent down to the state, they had a couple of tweaks they wanted. They wanted actually the license to be called the Hotel Motel Exception License. So those words were inserted, and the resolutions have been resent to you for adoption. So the first two resolutions are strictly amendments of resolutions you've already adopted with those words. The third one, the state wanted a separate resolution, not awarding, but issuing the license, because it had a different number type. So we're complying with the request.
Thank you. Any other?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon? Yes. Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager? Yes. Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. 10 is a similar thing, amending the earlier resolution, awarding a exception license to AHG Montclair Beverages, and I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. And 11 is a resolution issuing a new hotel motel exception license to AHG Beverages, AHG Montclair Beverage, LLC. I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. 12 is a resolution authorizing grant application submission, execution of a grant contract with the NJDOT for Mount Hebron Road Improvements Project. I so move. Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Jackson? I'm sorry. Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon? Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. 13 is a resolution designating 65 Church Street Urban Renewal LLC as a redeveloper to implement a redevelopment plan for a portion of Haynes redevelopment area. And I'm just read it, but I voted no against the plan, so I have somebody else to move this.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question. So, this Bijou Properties, they were already the group that was doing this? I don't know what we're doing differently here.
What this resolution does is formally designate the Bijou. They have a different name because it's an urban renewal name, but it's Bijou. Bijou Company as the redeveloper for this property, subject to certain, the Church Street property, subject to certain conditions. One, they have to own the property, which means they have to close on it. Second, they have to produce, agree to a redevelopment agreement with the township. And they have to file a site plan application with the planning board no later than the end of the year, in December 31st of 2019. So essentially, these are the same people that you've been talking to
Right.
for quite a while. And what this does is that it authorizes basically us to negotiate with them to attain a redevelopment agreement. If we don't reach a redevelopment agreement, they can't redevelop the property.
But I'm still, it seems backwards then. So, at the last meeting, we voted on that plan, right?
Correct.
So I don't understand, once that was already voted on, now we're coming back to vote on
The
them.
plan defines what can be built and the parameters of the project that can be built in the redevelopment area on that property. Once you've adopted a plan, then you can designate someone to actually implement the plan. You can't do the designation prior to adopting the plan. So that's why it's in this order.
Okay, so, and you said for negotiation, so does that mean we could go back and negotiate more affordable housing?
I think the affordable housing component, I'm just trying to remember if it was actually in the plan itself. I believe it was in the plan. So what you're basically, the answer is we don't really know. You don't renegotiate the contents of the plan. That would require another ordinance to amend the plan. What you're really doing is negotiating such things as if there are any public amenities, they're going to do their certain financial benefits we'll be looking for in the negotiation.
But we already discussed that, and we included that.
But well, some of it. There's other things which we intend to at least plan to negotiate based upon the history of this lot. But with respect to the contents of the development plan, I mean, it would. That's not the intention. Is not to renegotiate those. The intention is to designate this company to implement this.
Who is we, when you say we negotiate with them going?
The township.
Who exactly would that be? The township? Who is that? What person is that?
Well, the committee, I believe it would be the finance committee that's been doing that, but that's something that's internally decided. I mean, so I don't want to, put anything in stone right now, since it's your decision, not mine.
So this is something that we voted on, and And this is a final vote on this? Is that what this is?
Voted on adopting a plan.
Right.
Which is a blueprint of what can be built on the property, and what the parameters are, how many floors could be built, how
Right,
many
right, right.
units, things like that.
But when
What
Council
what this resolution is naming a company which we can negotiate with to reach an agreement to implement that plan.
But as to Councilor Baskerville's question, there's no negotiation with this company on an issue like affordable housing. We've already adopted something that says 10%. Is that true?
Well, yes, I mean, the terms of, the intention at least is not to renegotiate the terms of the plan, which is the ordinance that you voted on and reached an agreement on. It's not, I mean, nothing's written in stone. I mean, you could amend it, but that's not the intention here. The intention here is to go forward based upon the council's prior decisions here and work with this company to achieve an agreement to redevelop it.
So is there ever a time that we would want to designate the redevelopment company before we voted on that? And what is the benefit of doing it after you come up with that? I mean, we've been working with this group for a while.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to find out now, after the vote. So suppose everybody said no tonight. I don't understand
Yeah, that's a good
the
question.
the purpose.
You can't name the company before you adopt the plan, because the designation, which is, this all comes out of the redevelopment law. It's not made up.
Okay.
It's not something we make up.
Okay.
And you can only designate somebody to implement a plan if you have a plan. So the plan has to come first, period.
Okay.
That's not an option. And once you have the plan, then you want to move forward. If you vote against doing this, the project stalls and you don't have a redeveloper. I mean,
Okay.
well, I can't tell you how to vote, but it's been my understanding that this company was the intended redeveloper.
Yeah, no, okay, no, I appreciate it. Your response was somewhat helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? I mean, as you know, I voted against, I voted no on the plan. And I'm sort of weighing how I want to vote for the designation, but I want to also be collaborative with my, council colleagues, that if the plan has been approved, and this is the entity you've been working with, I don't want to be it strikes me that this is different from the plan part of it. So I think I'm leaning toward voting in favor, or worst case abstaining, but I'm still thinking it through. But it just strikes me that if the will of the body is for the plan, then and this is the entity to implement it, I would, even though I voted against the plan, I'm leaning toward voting for the entity to implement the plan that was approved. So, just my thought. Roll call.
Councilor Baskerville?
I was absent for the vote, but I believe that in good faith that this company is the company that we have been working with and intended to participate in this redevelopment, and so I would vote yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
I'm going to abstain on this.
Abstain?
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. 14 is a resolution authorizing execution of a professional services agreement with Eric M. Bernstein and Associates, and I'll move it.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller,
Yes.
Mayor Jackson.
Yes. Item 15 is a resolution urging all members of the New Jersey delegation to the United States Senate and the United States House of Representatives to implore the President of the United States and his administration to use all of their influence to persuade authorities in Barbados to give the investigation of missing persons Oscar Suarez and Magdalena Deville the highest possible priority. And this is a resolution that
Yes.
I thought was,
Yes.
we all think is very, very important.
Yes.
As you know, the Barbadian authorities essentially have called off the search. They did call off the search.
Yeah.
And having had some, discussions with family members, and there's a level of frustration that not enough is being done.
That's right.
And that we would like the government to know and our elected officials to know that we are deeply concerned about these two people.
Yes.
And that we would like to see more done to find out what happened, and to push this thing along and give it priority and put it on the front burner. And it's a very long resolution, which I intended to read, but for the sake of brevity, I won't. No, I'm going to read it. I'm sorry. Whereas Montclair resident Oscar Suarez and Bloomfield resident Magdalena Deville were last seen on June 24, 2019, after renting a jet ski on Holetown Beach, Barbados, and proceeding out to sea. And whereas on June 30th, 2019, the Barbados Coast Guard stopped searching for the pair at sunset after the United States, which was helping with the search, withdrew its assisting aircraft. And whereas on July 6, 2019, the jet ski rented by the pair was found by the French Navy off the southern shore of Guadeloupe, but has not been released to the authorities in Barbados for further investigation. The Royal Barbados Police Force is still searching for Suarez and Deville, and the families have engaged the services of a private investigator to assist. And whereas the mayor and the township council are cognizant of the great scientific and technological progress which has significantly increased the efficacy of the search for and identification of missing persons, including through cellular phone and location data, satellite maps and imagery, and DNA analysis. And whereas the mayor and township council expressed great concern about the disappearance of Oscar Suarez and Magdalena Deville, which entails consequences for the missing persons themselves and for the families and communities. And whereas the mayor and township council recognize that it is critical for governments to address the issue holistically, from prevention to tracing the location, identifying missing persons and returning them to their families, that informed and early action is crucial to addressing cases of missing persons in an effective and credible manner. And whereas the mayor and township council call upon members of the New Jersey delegation to the United States Senate and the United States House of Representatives to take all appropriate measures to implore the President of the United States and his administration to use their influence to persuade authorities in Barbados to actively search for Oscar Suarez and Magdalena Deville, to enable their return, and to put in place appropriate channels facilitating response and communication with the families on the search process, and to consider the provision of information on available services in relation to administrative, legal, economic, psychosocial difficulties and needs they may face as a result of having a missing relative, including through an interaction with competent national and international organizations and institutions. Now therefore be resolved that the mayor and the council of the Township of Montclair urge United States Senators Robert Menendez and Cory Booker and United States Representatives Mikey Sherrill and Donald Payne Jr. and the entire New Jersey delegation to the Congress, as listed below, to implore the President of the United States and his administration to use all of their influence to persuade authorities in Barbados to give the investigation of missing persons Oscar Suarez and Magdalena Deville the highest possible priority. And I so move.
Second.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Comments, council?
Well, I'd just like to commend you on taking leadership in this, and I think it's extremely important, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you for support. I should also say, too, that I spoke with Mayor Venezia today, and Bloomfield will take our resolution and do a similar one. They contact you.
Awesome.
They'll do a similar one for them, too.
I'll send it to them first thing in the morning.
Thank you. Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. Thank you. Bill list?
Yes. Whereas invoices against the Township of Montclair in favor of the following persons for the amount set opposite their respective names have been received, duly audited, and found correct. Therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Township of Montclair in the County of Essex that said invoices be and they are hereby ordered paid, and that checks be drawn by the Finance Department for the order of such persons for the amounts respectively hereinafter stated on computer printout attached hereto made a part hereof. This bill list is dated July 23rd, 2019, for $13,631,543.80, and I so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Baskerville?
Yes.
Councilor Hurlock?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McMahon?
Yes.
Councilor Russo?
Yes.
Councilor Schlager?
Yes.
Councilor Spiller?
Yes.
Mayor Jackson?
Yes. Comments? Mr. Karasik? Mr. Schellenberg?
No comments.
Mr. Stafford?
I have one thing, Mayor. Our Montclair Police Department will hold its annual National Night Out event on Tuesday, August 6th from 5 until 8 p.m. on South Park and Church Streets. And I encourage everyone to look at our township website for more information on this and the other programs that we have scheduled.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish somebody a happy birthday, Brian Scantleberry. Happy belated birthday. We have cake here for you.
I should have, I apologize. Angelise was so helpful and actually drafted the ordinance for the missing couple. I want to thank you for doing that. It's a lot of work. Thank you. Council?
Mayor, I'd like to just take off on the comment
really
about...
fast.
Yeah,
You're-
you mentioned Brian's birthday, but what I wanted to say tonight is I want to thank Brian again. I've known Brian, for 30 years. We ran together in 1992. We got elected in 1992, which is almost 28 years, and we've served on the council. He was deputy mayor, he was councilor at large, and I was councilor of the first ward. But Brian, was the one who was instrumental in getting this whole moon landing Apollo 11 observance going with our staff, with Katia Woke and others who were interested. But it's something so close to me because I was a kid growing up. President Kennedy said we should go to the moon. That inspired me to get into politics, and Kennedy was my hero, as you know. And Brian was the one who helped put this all together. And we go back looking at this great observance the other day, Saturday. Most of you were there. It's just tremendous. My friend Ralph Villeka was there, who grew up with me on 2nd Street in Newark. So just bear with me on this. I didn't even remember him. He remembered me, and he's just grew up across the street from me at 190 2nd Street. I was 199. So the Russo family, Villeka family, right on the same street. He's the guy who was head now of the Aviation Hall of Fame and Museum, and I got a reunion with him, Brian, at that wonderful session on Saturday. So I'm glad we did a resolution. We had our own proclamation observing Buzz Aldrin, landing on the moon. And I want to just thank Brian again. I want to shout out to Ralph Villeka, who we've been communicating for the 4 days now since Saturday about what we went through as kids in Newark. And that just brings me to just, acknowledging the guy who was one of my friends for years, who was a councilman who just passed away. I went to his memorial. Anthony Carino was the North Ward councilman for Newark for 28 years. He served as a councilman. He was a very close friend of Governor Florio. We both worked together for Governor Florio. And Carino passed away at 79 years old. I just want to acknowledge his family. Many of his family members were there who were connected with people in Bloomfield, Montclair, and all over, but Anthony Carino. And then my last point again would be, we're just talking about President Kennedy. Well, he wrote a book, A Nation of Immigrants. I just got a new copy again of this book, and I think it's time we really look at ourselves, because we're all immigrants. We're all descended from immigrants, except people who were brought here in chains who shouldn't have been. And I think we've got to treat immigrants, all immigrants, fairly. And President Kennedy not only said that, but President Reagan said that. President Reagan made an eloquent speech once as a Republican president that we really are a nation of immigrants we have to treat the right way. I just don't like the whole ICE, it's like a Gestapo to me. But let me just say this. There was a golden period. Now, what Brian taught me this too. President Eisenhower started the space program, so he set us on the course to go into the moon. President Kennedy made the commitment in 10 years, and we got there in 8 years. Unfortunately, he wasn't there to see it. But it was a period from 1953, President Eisenhower, to 1963, President Kennedy. The oldest president and the youngest, both serving in the World War II, Democrat, Republican, both good presidents who represented both parties, which should be working together to solve these problems of immigration, solve all our conflicts, racial and economic conflicts, to put this country first, nonpartisan, bipartisan, Republican, Democrat like Eisenhower, Ike, and JFK. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, before you go on, thank you very much, Councilor Russo, but Anne Marie Seekers needs to be
Yeah, well, I didn't want to
congratulated.
leave anybody out.
Yeah,
You can
she
add- you can
really
add.
put in some work, and I thank you, Anne Marie, for all the work you put in.
Thank you.
Council?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things real brief. Again, it was a nice ceremony. Many of us were there Saturday at the library. Good turnout. I learned a lot, actually, from many of the speakers. Also, Mayor Jackson and I attended a ribbon cutting at the diner on Valley Road in Upper Montclair, wishing the new owners there much success for many years. Friday night was a real treat. The MNDC, under the direction of Maddie Guthrie, who does so much for the community, had a wonderful takeout dinner. It was fish and rice, and it was really well attended, and the food was delicious. All the participants did a wonderful job. And I bring greetings, buongiorno, buonasera, from our Italian delegation, our friends in Aquilonia, who my son Ryan and I had a wonderful evening with. They send our best regards to the mayor and the council to promote our sister city with Aquilonia. We had a wonderful dinner in Naples when we were in Italy last week, and looking forward to continuing that partnership. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Council? All right.
One thing, August 10th, that's the Jazz Fest. So there was a little kickoff at the Van Vleck. It was a really nice event. God bless Bob Silver and Melissa Walker and all they do, and Christian, obviously, as well. It was a short and sweet for the three of us that got there, but they looked like they were having a good time, and it should be a wonderful festival. So it's coming up.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me swing that
Anybody
in.
going to the